Hello everyone. So we are here for task number 30 and I hope you guys are super pumped up to basically solve some passages which are based on AILET paper pattern. And the idea is going to be pretty simple. So I'm going to basically show you the questions first as we generally do when we solve the passages. And you guys are going to have a rough notebook right next to you where you can, jot down the important keywords so that it makes it easier for you to find the answers. Then we are going to move to the passage. If at all you find those same keywords in the passage, please feel free to mark it. And other than that, we are again going to go back to the questions. You're going to answer it in the chat box, and that's that. Okay, so I hope that this kind of gives you an insight as to what happens in the AILET paper usually, and you're going to see some smattering of vocabulary here and there because vocabulary definitely plays a very crucial role when it comes to AILET, right? So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so this is your first question. Please spend some time on it. I'm just going to move aside so that it gives you a clear vision. I'm going to take you to the next question now. Hopefully everybody has read the first one. In case you come across some difficult words while reading these passages, please put it in the chat box so that we can discuss its meaning. Moving on to the third question. I hope you guys are done reading. And moving on to the last question of the passage. I hope you guys are ready to read the passage now. All the very best. Pay careful attention. You've already read the questions, so you know what you're looking for, right? So, yeah, do let me know in the chat box if you're ready to move to the next paragraph. I think most of you are already done with the first slide. Shall I take you to the next? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take you to the questions again. I don't think that the language of this passage was that hard, so I hope you have felt the same. There were a few words here and there which might be difficult to understand, but I'll definitely help you with that. So I'm taking you to the first question now. I hope you're ready to answer it. In case you want me to scroll it up to the, first slide, let me know. Taking you to the part where this question would be answered. So many of you are on the right track. Well done. Now moving to the next one. Taking you to the part where this can be found. I think by now you guys are ready to answer the most suitable title of the passage, right? And the last question. All right. So I hope you're ready for the explanation now. How did you find the passage, by the way? I think the language was easy, right? Okay, and I think this is something which we have all read in our history textbooks, what an important role that Mr. B.R. Ambedkar played in the, making of our constitution. So यहाँ पे हम सबसे पहले तो बात करते हैं कि perhaps the greatest achievement of India when it comes to, obviously attainment of independence. जैसे ही हमने independence attain किया, the second most important thing was to basically constitute a constitution, and they did it in a very, I would say, impressive manner in the time span of 3 years, from December 1946 and November 1949. Now, framing of the constitution obviously was a stupendous and a challenging task. Now, I hope you are not under the impression कि जब हम stupendous word use कर रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब anything related to something being stupid or silly. It's quite the contrary. Stupendous का मतलब होता है something really impressive. So हम देख सकते हैं कि the task was really impressive and very, very challenging because we had to kind of keep in mind the size, the diversity, the complex problems of India, like tons of things. Now, the thing is, the credit for the above goes to our national leaders and their enlightened leaderships. Now, we were lucky in this department that we had some great leaders that really helped us to, make our constitution a huge success. अब हम यहाँ पे बात करते हैं how the Constituent Assembly was really really lucky when it came to having some distinguished statesmen. So again, हम लोग बहुत ही fortunate थे. In this regard, we had some really distinguished statesmen, freedom fighters, as you can see, intellectuals, patriots, जिन्होंने हमारी काफी मदद की when it comes to making of the Constitution. So you can find it easily here, right? Also, these leaders came from different, I would say, different flanks, different sides, and they represented India's most of the regions, interests, social groups, and political parties. That basically means when our constitution was constituted, we kind of kept in mind that inclusivity is a really big element. हमें सारी चीज़ों को include करना है, सारे ही लोगों को include करना है. And one of these distinguished statesmen, one extraordinary figure, was Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Now, Bhimrao Ambedkar was persuaded, was convinced by our leaders of the Indian National Congress. उनको convince किया गया. Obviously, it was a suggestion of Mahatma Gandhi. और फिर उन्होंने ये जो chairmanship थी उसको accept किया of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly, as you can see. Now, the thing is, the Constituent Assembly and its majority party, which is the Indian National Congress, they couldn't have done a better honor than to actually offer him a position that is so, so important. And obviously, his name is written in the, historical papers. तो आप बोल सकते हो कि उन्होंने history में हमेशा के लिए अपनी जगह बना ली. Now, Dr. Ambedkar not only accepted the responsibility, he basically, made it a huge success. And obviously, it was a tasking journey for him as well. Now, the thing is, they also tell us why Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the most suitable candidate for the job. So यहाँ पे clearly हमें पता चलता है कि Dr. Ambedkar was eminently qualified. I hope you know the difference between imminent and eminent. Imminent means something that is about to happen, and eminent, as you can see here, means honorable. So first of all, he was eminently qualified to take this task, to occupy this position, first of all, because of his academic distinction. So he was academically very, very strong. And secondly, as a constitutional expert, his intimate knowledge. So he already had a lot of constitutional knowledge. So he was very intimately attached to constitution in one way or the other, although अभी तक हमारा drafting नहीं हुआ था constitution का. So he worked very closely with the government as well. So as you can see, his rich experience in the political developments of India. So he was working very closely any which way. And in several ways, Dr. Ambedkar participated in the crucial constitutional developments. तो ये आप बोल सकते हो कहीं ना कहीं indirectly ड्राफ्टिंग ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में वो कहीं ना कहीं आप बोल सकते हो इन्वॉल्व हमेशा से ही थे. It all started in 1927, so तभी से ही he was working as a delegate to the roundtable conferences, which used to happen very frequently. He was also a member of the Viceroy's Executive Council. He also played an important role as the first law minister of independent India under the prime ministership of पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू. तो वो हमेशा से ही बहुत ही important pivotal roles play करते हुए आए हैं in government. Then we get to know about the proceedings and deliberations. Obviously, making the Constitution of India did not happen overnight. It took a lot of time and उसमें proceedings में भी बहुत सारे लोगों ने आप बोल सकते हो कहीं ना कुछ contradictory कहा ही होगा. There were a lot of deliberations, there were a lot of delays of the Constituent Assembly, but it all shows that Dr. Ambedkar's constructive role. He played a very constructive role in not only framing but piloting the entire project. Also, he defended the provisions of the draft constitution against many criticisms. बहुत सारे criticisms भी उनके सामने आए, but उसके बाद भी he defended whatever his standpoint was in a very efficient manner. At the same time, उनका जो manner of working, mannerism as well as methodology जो थी उनकी काम करने की, it was very forceful and logical when it came to clarifying issues. जब भी कोई important issues prop up हुए हैं, तो Dr. B.R. Ambedkar successfully turned that situation in a positive way by being logical in clarifying it. So he resolved several controversies, as you can easily see. तो हमें अच्छे से पता है कि डॉक्टर B.R. Ambedkar left an indelible mark on the Constitution of India, and that's why it's very rightly said that he is the chief architect of India's Constitution. अच्छे से हमें यहाँ पे एक चीज और समझ में आती है that the development that happened around the Constitution, the federal idea of Constitution has checkered history in India. Checkered history का मतलब होता है there were a lot of changes. Some were marked by really fortune moments and some were marked by really unfortunate moments. So हम देख सकते हैं checkered का मतलब होता है black and white. So there were a lot of black and white moments. So it has been a product of devolution. What is the meaning of devolution? Devolution basically means taking the power from the center and handing it to the local. That means to the local government. So they also tried to, wherever it was necessary, they also tried to take the power from the center and gave the local authorities, the kind of importance as well as responsibility that they deserved. And also, as we can see, ultimately, it all culminated in a wonderful way. The meaning of the word culmination means reaching its highest point. Yes. And finally, it became a huge success, as we clearly know. Ours is one of the most celebrated constitutions, and that's the end of the passage. So I hope you have understood it. Now, moving on to the questions. The first one asks us, according to the author, what made Dr. Ambedkar the most suitable candidate? So I already told you that there is a part where it is very clearly mentioned as to what makes him the most suitable candidate. Let me take you to the part. It's given in the first slide itself. This is the part. He was eminently qualified to occupy this position by virtue of his academic distinction. As a constitutional expert, he was very, well attached to the framing of constitution. He had intimate knowledge of the working of the government of India. Also, he had a rich experience in the political developments of India. which brings me to our first answer. कहीं भी ऐसा मेंशन नहीं है कि he had a great deal of knowledge regarding the English constitutional law. इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की बात हो रही है, इंग्लिश कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ की कहीं बात नहीं होती है. सो ऑब्वियसली द फर्स्ट ऑप्शन इज एलिमिनेटेड. He had been working with the British government, did he? He was very closely working with the Indian government and he was very closely related to the political developments of India, never the British government. So, again, this will be eliminated, which brings me to our answer, which is option C. He had a deep knowledge of the constitution, which kind of resonates with what is given in the second paragraph, I think, of the passage. And this is our answer. Obviously, it's not none of the above. I hope you have marked the same. The next one is, according to the passage, which of the following can be the most important contribution? Generally, अगर कोई भी बी आर अम्बेडकर का नाम सुनता है तो लोग सोचते हैं कि इस पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल में बैकवर्ड कास्ट या बैकवर्ड क्लासेस के बारे में जरूर बात हुई होगी. बट व्हेन यू एक्चुअली रीड दिस पैसेज यू गेट टू नो दैट कहीं भी बैकवर्ड कास्ट या बैकवर्ड क्लासेस की बात यहाँ पे नहीं होती है. We were just solely talking about the federal idea of the constitution, which is option B, and you can easily find this answer right here. He deserves the title to be called as the chief architect of India. His development of federal idea of the constitution, has checkered history. So this is answer 2. I hope you have found it. This will be eliminated because there was not a single mention of the backward caste anywhere. Freedom of speech and religion, not mentioned. Supremacy of the constitution, पहले constitution बनेगा फिर supremacy होगी, so obviously irrelevant. Taking you to the third one, which is asking us the most suitable title of the passage. So as you can clearly see, we did talk about Indian constitution, but we did talk about the important role that B.R. Ambedkar played in actually framing that constitution. So we can't really eliminate B.R. Ambedkar out of our answer, right? So first one is first of all too broad and it does not really mention the importance of B.R. Ambedkar anywhere. B.R. Ambedkar, the Messiah of backward classes, ये टाइटल हो सकता था अगर इसमें बैकवर्ड क्लासेस के बारे में बात होती, which did not happen in the passage. Role of British out of context, कहीं भी ब्रिटिशर्स के बारे में बात हुई नहीं है except for one or two occasions, and we did not really talk about the importance of the Britishers anywhere. So eliminated, which brings me to our answer, contributions of Ambedkar in the making of the constitution. I think it was easy peasy, right? Moving on to the fourth one. Which of the following words mean stupendous? I already told you that stupendous का मतलब होता है something really, really amazing, impressive, influential. So in this regard, amazeballs is the most suitable synonym for stupendous. Extant का मतलब होता है in existence. Ludicrous का मतलब होता है silly and naughty का मतलब होता है having too many knots or very complicated problem. Obviously, the answer is A. And the last one, which of the following can be the antonym? I hope everybody paid attention on a very important word here. We need to find the opposite of checkered. I already told you. Checkered का मतलब होता है basically changing in terms of positive and negative moments. Paltry basically means trivial, not really useful. When it comes to venal also cannot really be the answer. And chicanery has to do with deception. The answer that comes closest, immutable का मतलब होता है unchanging, which is our answer. We need to find the opposite, and that's what we have found. Immutable basically means unchangeable. Now I'm taking you to the next passage. I hope you guys are ready. So pull up your socks And moving on to the second passage. As you can see, we have used a foreign phrase here. Let's see whether you guys know the meaning or not. Taking you to the next one. I'm gonna take you to the next one. I hope you're done reading this. Keep marking your keywords. It will make the process very, very smooth for you to figure out the answers. Taking you to the next one. And the last question. I hope you're ready to read the passage. There's a word missing here. Assigned can be assigned to political science. I hope you're done reading the first part, taking you to the next, in case anybody is still stuck on the last paragraph. We'll give it one more minute and then I'll take you to the first question of the passage. All right. So this is the first question based on a foreign phrase. Also, you can easily see this in a legal document, so I hope you know the meaning. I'm taking you to the part where this phrase has been used so that you at least deduce the meaning from the context. Moving to the next question. Meaning of the word pertinent is relevant. Taking you to the part where this is given. Again, the first slide, where political science has been compared to economics, sociology, or law. I hope you're done reading. People got confused between two options, as I can see. Okay, I'm taking you to the next one now. I'm taking you to the part where this is given. And the last question. All right, let's analyze the passage now. As you can see very clearly that the writer is not very happy about the situation of political science in our country and its development. So he says of all the social science disciplines, the sickliest, look at the adjective that he has used, the sickliest one is political science. And he also gives us reasons when we read further. At least in India, जब हम बात करते हैं दूसरे सोशल साइंसेस की जैसे कि इकोनॉमिक्स सोशियोलॉजी लॉ everything has made considerable progress and they have found their relevance in one way or the other very closely related to the happenings which are happening in the country. So कहीं ना कहीं हम इकोनॉमिक्स को यूज करते हैं लॉ को यूज करते हैं सोशियोलॉजी को यूज करते हैं but we are not really using the theory of politics the way it should be when it comes to India. Even the professionals who should be interested, I'm talking about the people who are studying to become future political leaders, even they are least bothered when it comes to studying uh, politics. अगर मैं सबसे अच्छा एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे लूँ तो just go back in history and see the qualifications of our political leaders and I think you will get a very stark clarity as to what the writer is trying to convey in this particular passage क्योंकि हमारे generally political leaders खुद ही पढ़े लिखे नहीं होते हैं so politics तो वो क्या ही पढ़ेंगे. Then we can see here for the legal profession, if you were to become a lawyer, if you were to become a doctor, even if you just pick some pedestrian profession, that means some ordinary profession like priesthood, तब भी आपको कुछ ना कुछ theoretical knowledge होना जरूरी है. It is a sine qua non. Sine qua non basically means it's a requirement. सभी को ही थियोरी का कुछ ना कुछ conceptual clarity एक important aspect है. But politics does not really proceed on these lines. Politics में theoretical formulations या research findings से काम नहीं बनता है. On the contrary, we see that practical things happening first and theory following it. So you can easily see it here. The theory follows the practice here. Of course, there are some exceptions when it comes to political science also, जहाँ पे हमें देखने को मिलता है कि पहले फॉर्मूला आया और उसके बाद उसका प्रैक्टिकल हमने देखा. But these are only some exceptional cases. It doesn't happen on a regular. So by and large, as we can see, it does not have any predictive capacity. According to the writer, there is nothing of a prediction when it comes to, political science. It's just a retrospective study. Retrospective का मतलब होता है something which is studied in terms of its past events. So हमने देखा कि past में क्या क्या हुआ और उसी के हिसाब से हमने politics की theory ready कर ली. Now many people might oppose to this proposition obviously क्योंकि हर चीज के ऊपर controversies होना बहुत ही आम बात है. People are entitled to their opinion. So people might oppose this proposition and they'll say that politics does provide a predictive value, but it's not really true according to the writer. वो यहाँ पे एक example देना चाहता है हमें which can easily serve to clarify what he is trying to tell. So we live in a democracy, right? We have the right to pick our own government. And here we can easily we can easily vote in a secret ballot. Now the thing is, एक voters list prepare की जाती है, and obviously the elections are so near, so I think you guys must already be aware. There's a voters list where your name is given, and you're supposed to go in your own area's ballot box and pick your own leader by voting. तो हम यहाँ पे देखते हैं कि the voter is shown a ballot box, and then the normative injunction has been followed. Normative injunction basically means following the rules, following the norms. ऐसे ही वोट दिया जाता है in general. But in reality क्या ऐसे ही होता है? What happens actually in reality is what is something that matters in politics. And the writer doesn't want to elaborate on this very fact. He says that is politics. And then he gives us an example of Bihar. तो देखने को हम अगर देखें तो इंडिया पूरी ही डेमोक्रेसी है, बट बिहार में जो होता है हर बार, that is definitely not something which follows the rules and regulations of democracy. So he says, on the basis of what is happening to the democratic practices, particularly in states like Bihar, हम ये नहीं बोल सकते कि we live in a democratic land. Not that other states are any better, पर ये बोलता है कि Bihar can be considered as a crowning jewel when it comes to not following what happens in a democracy. Obviously, there are other states where people are, forced to vote a particular political party. But हाँ, बिहार ही सबसे prominent example है. Then the writer says eminent thinkers in the past, like Aristotle in the ancient period and Einstein in our own times, elevated political science to dizzying heights. What does that mean? They looked at politics in a very honorable, respectable manner. According to Aristotle, he used to call it the master science. तो फिर अचानक से क्या हो गया? अचानक से political science को इतना importance क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है? So we see for Einstein, politics was much more difficult to understand because अगर हम Einstein के बारे में जानते हैं तो we know that he used to basically research over scientific things. So he was a scientist, right? So यहाँ पे सबसे main difficulty in political science is basically the subject matter itself and the universality of its principles. क्योंकि science में अगर हमने कुछ prove कर दिया, it will be universally accepted. But political science majorly deals with humans. And अगर हम whenever it comes to human beings, nothing is universal because every person has his or her point of view and opinion. So हम यहाँ पे देख सकते हैं कि political science, like other social sciences, deal with human beings whose behavior and attitude change from time to time. अगर हम देखें कि in the 80s people had very different opinions from what it was in 90s, that's definitely true because human beings change their behavior as well as their attitude from time to time and from place to place. And hence, any generalization, अगर हम political science के basis पे कोई भी generalization बनाए, so it's going to be bound to be inexact because after a certain period of time, it's going to undergo a change, it's going to undergo a transformation. So nothing, that is predicted can be exact when it comes to political science. And that's the summary of the passage. Now, moving on to the first question. So, what is the meaning of the term sine qua non? I already told you it's basically a requirement, something which is definitely needed. So, the answer is prerequisite. And if you see, for the legal profession or medical profession or engineering profession or even some pedestrian professions like priesthood, some theoretical knowledge is a must, is a prerequisite. That's how we have used it here. Invidious basically means something that instigates anger, resentment. I hope you know the meaning of auspicious. Auspicious means fortunate, lucky. Benign means kind. So obviously not the answer. The answer is B. Moving on to the next one. What, according to the author, differentiates politics as a theoretical study from other subjects like economics and law? So, in the beginning, the writer does compare it to economics and law, and he says that कि इसमें हमें theory पढ़ के we can easily implement the theory in practical purposes. But the thing is, if you see option A, which many people chose by the way, the application of economics and law is relevant in real life. क्या ऐसा है क्या कि पॉलिटिक्स की जो थियोरी है वो रेलेवेंट ही नहीं है रियल लाइफ में? Because you can see it's written here, politics has no value in real life. First of all, this is an extreme statement. And this is not something which the writer wants to convey. He's just saying that politics has not got the importance that it actually deserves when it comes to India. So, obviously, it will be eliminated. If you want to see where it's given, you can see it here, as well as here, theoretical formulations. So that's exactly what is given. You can actually read the theory and then implement it. Whereas when it comes to politics, कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है कि the practical purposes result in its theory. But it does not mean that it has no value when it comes to real life. Option B, the amount of theoretical knowledge in political theory is much vaster than law and economics. First of all, such a claim has not been made in the passage anywhere that theory of politics is vast. Okay, so this is something which is not mentioned out of context. The answer is option C. It's important in law and economics to study theory before applying it, whereas it is not true when it comes to politics. Which brings us to the answer, which is also given here. On the contrary, the theory follows the practice here. Of course, there are some exceptions, but yeah, that's our answer for question 7. Moving on to question number 8. What, according to the author, is one of the difficulties of studying political science, which made it harder than physics and cosmology for Einstein? Here, the keyword was Einstein. I hope you were smart enough to mark it. And Einstein के बारे में सिर्फ लास्ट पैराग्राफ में बात होती है और यहाँ पे क्लियरली बोला गया है the reason why it was difficult for Einstein to study it because it basically deals with human beings और human beings का जो behavior and attitude है वो constantly change होता रहता है from time to time and place to place. क्योंकि अगर हम natural sciences की बात करें या physical sciences की बात करें, so we are dealing with objects which do not have their own individual pattern of thinking. हम नॉन लिविंग थिंग्स से ज्यादा रिलेट कर रहे हैं when it comes to natural and physical sciences, whereas when it comes to political science you need to deal with human beings. So obviously that's what makes it difficult for even Einstein to understand it. And in which option this is given? Option A. A is the answer here, as you can clearly see. If you see option B, political science deals with practical life instead of theories, hence it cannot be depended upon. ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं बोला गया है कि political science only and only deals with practical life. Obviously, there is some resonance to theory as well. Hence, it cannot be depended upon. So, depended upon is not really the difficulty when it comes to Einstein, especially. The concepts in political science are abstruse. Abstruse का मतलब होता है unclear. क्या ऐसा बोला गया है कि political science is unclear and arcane? Arcane means dated, old-fashioned? No, that's not really the case. It's just that political science basically takes into account some pragmatic things, and then possibly the theory can be fashioned around it. Okay. Also, it deals with human beings, which kind of creates a difficulty for people to understand it, especially the people who are more, आप बोल सकते हो, who more relate to the theoretical aspect of a subject, like Einstein himself. And question number 9, which of the following is not true regarding the nature of the subject of political science according to the views of the author? If you see the first option, it is true. Politics does not proceed on the lines of theoretical formulations or research findings, which you can easily find right here. The exact line is given, and that's why it is true. I hope you have found it. The answer is option B. Exact generalizations can be made regarding causal relations. In the passage, it's written, basically, that's the last line. Any generalization on the causal relations in politics is bound to be inexact, not exact. So, this statement is false when it comes to the passage. And the last one is again true. Political science is just a retrospective study and has no predicative capacity. That's what the writer says. You can easily find it here. It is just a retrospective study and no predicative capacity. So both the things are given directly in the passage. Moving on to the last question. Which of the following is not an antonym for retrospective? First of all, I hope you guys have found double negatives here. Double negatives equal a positive. I hope you know that. So यहाँ पे not an antonym बोला है, इसका मतलब है we are supposed to find its synonym. So retrospective basically means backdated, something which relates to past events. Prospective, imminent, approaching, तीनों के तीनों ही इसके antonym है. Something that is about to happen, which is obviously the opposite of retrospective. And that brings me to the end of today's session. So I hope you have got a great deal of insight as to what to anticipate when it comes to the AILET paper. And please keep on practicing and, especially practice your vocabulary well and you'll be covered. So that's it from my side. It's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and patience. I'll be seeing you again in the next session. Bye bye.